So, have you been looking at the price of oil lately? It's been on this absolutely chaotic roller coaster, right? Bouncing all over the place with no clear direction at all. Let's get into it and really unpack what's going on behind those numbers. All right, so to ground ourselves, let's just look at a number. Right now, as of March 4th, 2026, a barrel of West Texas Intermediate crude, that's the big benchmark for North America, is sitting at $76.29. But honestly, that number on its own, it barely tells you anything. I mean, just look at how wild these swings are. In just the last day, it's jumped over 2%. Okay, but zoom out to the last month, it shot up more than 20%. And even looking back a full year, it's up 15%. We're not talking about small changes here. This is some serious movement. So that brings us to the big question, right? The whole point of this explainer. Why? What on earth is causing these huge swings? Because let's be real, this stuff affects everything. The price you pay at the pump, even the cost of your groceries. Well, the best way to think about it is like a giant global tug of war. You've got these incredibly powerful forces on one side, just yanking the price up. And then on the other side, you have these other, just as powerful forces pulling it right back down. It's this epic battle. So let's start with the forces pushing prices up. Okay, so the biggest thing pushing prices up right now, it's all about geopolitics. There's a crisis escalating, and fast, in the Middle East, and it's putting the entire global oil supply in jeopardy. And the absolute heart of this crisis, the flashpoint, is the Strait of Hormuz. Seriously, you can think of it as the jugular vein of the entire global energy market. You see, for years, our systems were all built for one thing, efficiency. And that meant relying on these single, incredibly fragile points, like this one super narrow shipping lane. And get this, a full 20%, one-fifth of all the oil and natural gas the entire world uses every single day has to squeeze through this tiny choke point. When you have that much of something concentrated in one place, any little problem, well, it doesn't just cause a ripple, it sends a massive shock wave across the whole planet. And a disruption is exactly what's been happening. It's escalated with just breathtaking speed. Look at this timeline. Day 1, drone strikes hit Saudi Arabia's biggest refinery. The very next day, a huge fire breaks out at the UAE's main oil hub. By day 4, all the shipping traffic through the strait, it just stops, dead in the water. And by day 5, the whole conflict gets even bigger. And it's not just about the Strait of Hormuz. Other big producers are having major problems too. Iraq had to cut its output way back. You've got drone attacks hitting key refineries in Russia. And on top of all that, OPEC Plus, the big group of oil-producing countries, they only agreed to put a tiny, tiny amount of oil back on the market. So the bottom line is, supply is getting squeezed hard from pretty much every direction. Okay, so with all that chaos on the supply side, you'd think oil prices would be through the roof, right? Like $200 a barrel? Easy. But they're not. And the reason why brings us to the other side of that tug of war. There's this massive pull force. And it's coming from a global economic engine that's starting to sputter, especially in China. For decades, China was it. It was the engine of global oil demand, period. Their endless appetite for energy just kept pushing prices up. Well, that engine has stalled out. Today, their demand is weak, and frankly, nobody expects it to come roaring back anytime soon. And this isn't just some temporary slump, this is a fundamental structural shift. Why? Well, for one, EV sales in China are just exploding. Their massive fleet of heavy-duty trucks, a lot of them are now switching over to cheaper natural gas. And their petrochemical industry, they just built way too much, way too fast, and now they're stuck with it. So what's the end result of all this? China's demand for road fuels, it's officially peaked. That chapter's over. And don't just take my word for it. The experts on the ground are saying the same thing. Listen to Janet Kong. She's the CEO of a huge refining company there. She puts it really bluntly. It's just hard to find any bright spots for oil demand in China right now. The old engine that used to drive the entire market, it's just running out of gas. So you see, this is that great counterbalance we were talking about. On one side, you have all these geopolitical fires pushing prices up. But on the other, you have China's economic cooldown acting like this enormous weight, pulling them right back down. It's the only thing keeping a lid on what would otherwise be a total price explosion. But here's where it gets even more interesting. This whole push and pull thing, it's happening on a playing field that is completely changing. Underneath all the daily headlines, the entire map of global energy is literally being redrawn. We're talking new players, new rules, a whole new game. There's this powerful new supply center coming online. The International Energy Agency even has a name for it, the Americas Quintet. We're talking about the US, Canada, Brazil, Argentina, and they're expected to drive most of the new supply growth for the next 10 years. And in that group, there's one newcomer that is, well, it's just astonishing. I'm talking about Guyana. Just look at this story. This small South American country went from being an energy importer to a global powerhouse, seemingly overnight. They found 11 billion barrels of oil. They're already pumping out almost 1 million barrels a day. And their economy, it's been growing by an average of 47% per year. It's a completely unbelievable transformation. Of course, all that new money brings huge, huge challenges. Guyana is now staring right down the barrel of the resource curse. That's this paradox where a flood of oil money actually ends up causing more corruption and social problems than it solves. And they only need to look next door to Venezuela to see how badly that can go. And hey, it's not just the producers who are changing their game. The big consumers are adapting too. Take a country like India, a massive energy importer. They used to be super reliant on the Middle East. More than half their crude oil had to come through that one choke point, the Strait of Hormuz. But now, they're playing it smart. They're building resilience by diversifying, buying more from the Americas, so they're never again held hostage by a single, fragile supply line. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. What does it all mean? What's the big picture here? What's the main takeaway from this whole global tug of war? It really boils down to 3 key things. 1, you've got these geopolitical fires constantly threatening supply, which pushes prices up. 2, you've got slowing economies, especially China's, which pulls prices down. And 3, all of this is happening while the basic map of who sells oil and who buys it is being totally redrawn. This back and forth, this constant tension, that is the new reality. You know, there's this quote from Miriam Lofty at Cardiff University that just nails it. She says, supply chains are not merely economic systems, they are deeply embedded in geopolitical realities. And that's it, right there. We can't think about this stuff as just economics anymore. It's geopolitics first and foremost. Think about it. For decades, the whole global system was built around one idea: efficiency. Find the cheapest, fastest way to do everything. But that created these incredibly fragile systems like, relying on one little street for a fifth of the world's oil. This new era we're in now, it's all about resilience, building systems that can actually take a hit and keep going. And that tension, that battle between the old way, efficiency, and the new way, resilience, that is becoming a permanent feature of our world. And all of this leaves us with one last really big question to think about. In this new era, where supply is always at risk and the old economic engines are sputtering, is this constant volatility, this endless tension, is this just the new normal for energy? It really seems like this tug of war isn't ending anytime soon.